Hi everyone, I am Srijon. I am a high school senior at IISc Academy Secondary, Kolkata, and I will be the host for today's session. Today at this roundtable, we have some of the most knowledgeable minds from across the world. We have Arka from IISc Kolkata, Chirag from MIT, Gaurav from Harvard, Nisarg and Hemansh from IISc, Heramb from IIT Roorkee, and Pranjal from IISER Pune. Before we get started, a bit about GRAM. We are a community of students who seek to inspire others through these sessions and webinars so that they get some awareness and pursue research and study in this STEM and related fields. In this new series of roundtables, we will bring more people like them who can share insights and give you perspective about various other related fields. So that's pretty much it. Let's get started. And before we jump into the questions part and other things, it would be awesome if you guys introduce yourself so that the audience can connect. Orko, you can begin.
Yeah, so I am Orko Sinha. I am currently pursuing B-Stat at IISc Kolkata. So the course includes statistics and mathematics. So yeah, that's it.
So I'm Chirag. I'm currently a rising sophomore at MIT and pursuing physics and math in Bachelor of Science right now.
Hi, I'm Gaurav Goel, and I'm a rising sophomore at Harvard, where I'm thinking of studying math and physics with a secondary in music.
So I am Hemansh from IISc Bangalore. I'm going to pursue BSc Physics.
Hiram.
Hi, I'm Heramb. I'm studying chemistry at IIT Roorkee.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nisarg. I'm currently studying in IISc Bangalore. I'm in the first year of the undergraduate program.
I'm Pranjal Jain. I'm studying the BSMS course in IISER Pune and I plan on majoring in math.
Yes. So we'll start with the segment like why one should study pure science. So the first question is for Chirag. Like you are majoring in physics and mathematics along with a minor in astronomy. So along with Hemansh, I would like to ask, like you all studied as for IOAA International Olympiad in Astrophysics and Astronomy. So those parts were pretty advanced in comparison to the initial levels like the Indian National Astronomy Olympiad. So what you studied there, has it any relation or like this helps in your courses of astronomy? And it would be nice if you tell a bit about more like what the course includes, any practical things, any instrumental, like what kind of instruments you all use, and yeah, sure.
Good. So studying for IOAA, in one sense, like the material was equivalent to the undergrad astronomy first year, second year courses. So, in my high school, I was interested in astronomy and astrophysics. Therefore, I did the Olympiad, and the course material in its difficulty level is equivalent to the courses here at MIT for the initial courses on astronomy. So I could basically skip them and take the difficult courses here. So that definitely helped me in saving a year because I could take the difficult courses directly. But my interest basically changed away from astronomy towards more towards theoretical physics. So in the end, I mean, the the skill set which I gained while studying for Olympiads is still there with me, but the material in its original form is not particularly helpful because I'm not going towards that field. But if I might change my field back to astronomy later in future, it will definitely help me in having that boost ahead and not take introduction classes and directly take the advanced one.
Yeah, so the material has definitely been helpful. Like you get to study what you would have studied much later if you like. At least like here we have a physics major, so after physics, if you want to study astronomy, you have to do it in mostly in the self-study sort of way. But IOA has provided a nice background with teachers and all to correspond to, and it has given me a nice like head start in astronomy. You can say.
Okay, nice. So the next question is for Heramb. So you're doing chemistry in IIT Roorkee. In this community, chemistry is often looked down upon. So, like, what are views upon? Like, clearly, a student has asked, what are your views upon you're studying chemistry? He's interested in, but often he backs because, like many say, it's not that field where one usually pursues. So you can talk about that a bit.
I definitely agree that chemistry is looked upon down upon. I think a lot of the reason behind this is just how it is taught in India, and how it is approached sort of in other countries is kind of different. So chemistry on its own is not all about rote memorization. So that ends up becoming a function of what exam you're preparing for, what you end up rote memorizing, and how useful that becomes. As for the person who's interested in chemistry, I would say just go for it. Don't think about what other people are saying. There'll always be some people who will criticize you for no matter what decision you take. If you were to switch your field from chemistry to doing physics because of peer pressure, because physics is quote unquote cooler, then I'm sure there'll be people out there who will be criticizing you for not taking the leap into engineering. So there'll always be that con side to it. But it's at the end of the day still a decision. If you love it and you feel like you have the aptitude for it, or you have the yearning for it, you should definitely take that deep dive in, and just have fun.
Cool. So the next question is for Gaurav. So you studied Olympiads in your high school day, performed really well, and later on took mathematics. So what has driven you till now? Why one should study mathematics? And this is the basic question for you.
So I think there are two questions here. If I understand you correctly, one of them is what JEE preparation in general gave me. And the second question is why I like mathematics and why I chose to pursue mathematics. Okay, so the first question, I decided to do JEE because of the same reason everyone else probably here, right? You want to do something along science after you're done with 10th, but you're not too keen on medicine. So the only other option that you have is JEE preparation. So that's how I started. And then I really enjoyed the subject. So I knew I was preparing for engineering, but I got so lost in the process of preparing. I just really enjoyed the 3 subjects that we were doing. But then my high school base had a small separate class preparing for the Math Olympiad. And I just randomly stumbled across that on the calendar, and I knew nobody else going in there. And then I just randomly showed up to that class. And then that's where I really fell in love with math. And I really saw how beautiful it can be. And that's when I decided that I'm probably going to pursue math as a degree. And I think the reason I'm doing mathematics is because there's so much beauty to it. There's the one thing that distinguishes mathematics from other fields of science, and it can be a good thing or a bad thing, is that anything that you do is set in stone, right? So if you go back to 3,000 years, probably more, you can find theorems proved by ancient Greek mathematicians, and they're set in stone. No, they're eternal truths that these guys discovered, and that's very different from other branches of pure science, where you've got constantly evolving fields, and you've got new theories replacing older ones, and so on. So that's one thing that I really like about that. And JEE preparation in general, because you're not actually doing any engineering, you're just studying the sciences. You're studying physics, chemistry, and mathematics. It's really helpful in developing an analytical viewpoint towards things, and you get to see how beautiful these things can be if you don't limit yourselves to just preparing for a specific examination.
The next question is from Nisarg. So you are studying in the first few semesters at IISc. You study all the sciences. It's compulsory, I believe. So what sciences you like the most, and what's the experience till now? It would be nice to tell that a bit.
All right. So as you said, we have to start off by studying all the sciences, and coming from a PCM background, I also had to study and still have to study biology. So it does give, initially it can be cumbersome, but after a while, eventually you start linking stuff. You can link stuff that you're learning in biology to stuff that you learned in chemistry, and so on. So that really it opens up new lanes of thinking. So that's a plus point. And I always had an aptitude towards physics, but I kept an open mind, and still I can say that I've retained that aptitude. So And even like for physics, there's no limit to what you can study. So like you can start off with something that you saw your professor talking about in class, and then you can just keep googling and get lost in some rabbit hole. So that's the thing that really attracts me towards physics, that you can start somewhere and then you can end up completely different at a different place.
Nice. So the next question is for Arko. You studied at IISc for 6 months, then left that and you continued in IISc Kolkata. So you're studying statistics, I believe. So what's the your reason for love towards statistics, and how's the experience been?
Yes. Firstly, I would say I did not study for 6 months. I was there for like 1 month, albeit online classes. So yeah. So the thing is, I went to IISc. I was like, okay, there are all subjects I had to study, but I'd probably take maths or physics as my major. Okay. So after the classes started, I interacted with a lot of people. The thing is, I found out that, see, like basic idea of mathematics and statistics that you have, physics that you have from your +2 level, the research level, it's quite different. Okay. So if you see, I was actually more bent on to taking physics than mathematics. So I talked with many people there, the seniors. Okay. So I was like, if I take physics, I'd probably take theoretical physics. But what I saw that it's more like pure maths. Okay. And pure maths, of course, it's beautiful, but I do not like pure maths as a like that. Okay. I like the more applied parts, but not like so applied like engineering. Okay. So I thought then, well, what do I actually like? Like, there's something I like in physics, there's something I like in maths. So what do I actually like? So I saw that one thing that I actually liked is problem solving. Okay. And the problem solving has to be related to what can be applied in the real world, not in the far future, but in the current situation. Okay. So from that, that was one thing. As of statistics, if you ask, okay, so statistics deals with problems that have that arise in almost every field. So one thing that is very good about statistics is that if you are studying statistics, in almost any field you can go, okay, and you can take up problems that are arising there, not maybe very deep theoretical problems, but problems that are arising in the application of a particular subject in the real world, and you can deal with it. Okay. So as we know, like the basic definition of statistics is collecting data, analyzing data, and stuff like that. Okay. So put it that way, it's pretty boring, but if you think about it, collecting data and analyzing data. So let's come with collecting data. If you collect data wrongly, okay, so you will get totally wrong stuff like as your outcome. Say a person wants to say like political parties, if you see, so they want to put up an agenda that a huge number of people in our country want something to happen. So they go to their particular supporters and they ask, okay, tell me, what do you want to happen? And they said, okay, I want this to happen. And they put up that see, 90% of the people want this to happen. Okay, now a huge people will this say, okay, 90% of the people want this to happen. So they will change their opinions also and say, okay, I also want this to happen. But you have to see that they collected the data from a place where they wanted to get where they got the result they actually wanted, not the result what actually is true. So that is a part about collecting data. Then if you see, statistics also deals with estimation of quantities, predicting quantities. Say if you talk about census and stuff like that. So doing a census, you want to figure out a particular thing, particular characteristic that is prevalent in the whole population. But you cannot just take everybody and ask them their opinion, or even if you could do that, there are some questions that you cannot directly ask them. Okay. So that's where statistics comes in. You kind of go through the roundabout way, or sometimes you do not take the whole of the population and ask them the question. You take a bunch of them whom you believe can represent the population properly, and that part, the population properly part, has a lot in it. Okay. So yeah, that's something that's really interesting. Okay, so then I thought, yeah, then another option was that, not option rather, another thought of that I I did not know whether I would pursue sciences properly 5 year hence. Okay, of course interest to rehta hai, theek hai, but what would happen 5 years hence I did not know. So I wanted to keep a middle ground, that if I wanted to shift to industry, then I could do that after my masters, uh, which I would probably complete from ISI only. So I wanted to keep that option open. Okay, so that option is nice at ISI compared to IISc, because at IISc most of the people go to research. Okay, so they go for their higher studies. That's what's most of the seniors I got to know from them. Yeah, a small amount of people also do go to job, but in that respect I found that ISI was a bit better, so I took the middle ground, sort of. So yeah, that's it.
Nice. So, Pranjal, you are at IISER Pune. So, you have published many research papers, quite a few research papers as well. So, how's the experience with that? And how's the department there, the community there?
Well, firstly, I'd like to clarify that it's not publishing. I've just written a few, like I've done a bit of research, and like I'm just a first year undergraduate. So it's not groundbreaking or anything, obviously. But basically, I'm just trying to explore that path of trying to do stuff on your own, because like one of the most fundamental beliefs I have about learning, and it's partly inspired by the view which 3 Blue 1 Brown, the YouTube channel of always shows, is that you should, like, whenever you learn something, you should make it your own. So it's not just about learning the formulae, and it's not just about learning the concepts either. It's about learning it at a depth where you can say that I rediscovered this, I didn't just learn it. So when you go to that depth of learning, obviously you end up stumbling upon things which others might not have that groundbreaking, or it's not that hard to think of. It's still new, and you can write about that, and maybe people will find it interesting. So I'm just doing that. I'm doing what I find interesting, and I'm trying to learn stuff on.
Okay, nice. So the next question is for Chirag. So you had applied for abroad and then you got into MIT. I saw in one of your interviews you said that unfortunately you got rejections from the other ones that you applied and only MIT selected you. And rest you are pretty sure of your chances at IIT Bombay due to the curriculum you had followed throughout 12 rigorous testing and everything. And so if you wouldn't have got MIT, would you have continued at IIT Bombay, or you have gone to IISc as you also got API, and you are interested in pure sciences, or you wouldn't have taken pure sciences if you didn't got MIT? So what was the plan B in your case?
Actually, this is quite a difficult question because I didn't have a plan B. So MIT's result was going to come in March. I had till May for JEE Advance, and I already had IISc, so I had that 3-month period to decide what I'll do in my life. I'm not sure what I would have chosen, but from now perspective, I might have gone towards IIT Bombay CS in the end. Actually, I mean, currently, CS, the research part of CS also interests me, which is basically information theory of computation, etc. So IIT Bombay CS definitely has good faculty for that. So it might have been a good decision if I had made that, but also because I have not been presented in such a situation in real life, I cannot give an exact answer of what I would have done if I would have been rejected by MIT and then had to choose between IISc or IIT. So I can't give the true answer to this.
So same for Gaurav, you had applied to Harvard. These are extremely competitive colleges to get in. Like they don't just examine your academics, but everything, entire personality. So if you hadn't gone there, what was the plan B in your case? Okay, anyway. So Gaurav, you can proceed.
Right. So I think that for me, I had a plan B that was kind of ready. So I was looking at a bunch of universities in the US, and assuming hadn't gotten in any of those, then I I, I had done KVPY the year before that, and I think I would have gone with IISc Bangalore because I'm interested in math, but I also want to explore other fields, which is next to something like ISI or CMA, where you primarily have math and little other opportunities. Yeah, that's I think.
Okay. So the same goes for Hemansh. If you could tell a bit about your plans around that time when you were in HS and planning about all these things.
So I am basically sure I want to do physics because that is what interests me. That is what I want to do. I want to understand how everything works. So if not IISc, then maybe I would have like IIT Bombay physics is also quite good. I was preparing for JEE also because IISc hadn't released the final admission list till quite late. So that is what like IIT Bombay physics would have been physics. Physics, then like after BTech, I would have shifted to the pure science side. That's an option. Okay, we can do that after BTech.
Heramb, what you have gone for if you hadn't got chemistry at IIT?
I think I would have gone in for IISER Pune. So IISER has its own exam for like 1 month before JEE for its own admission stream. So I had given that and I had cleared it, and I had got like provisionally admitted to IISER Pune.
Okay. And Nisarg, what you have done?
Like I was uncertain whether I wanted to go with BTech and then continue to MSc as Hemansh said, or to begin with BSc, because like my interest in science had like in pure science had actually arisen quite late in my preparation days. So like for the moment I was just preparing for JEE, and I thought, okay, after everything's over I'll decide, I'll calmly compare my options. So like it most probably would have been IIT Bombay had it not been IIS. So because like there are advantages to starting off with BTech instead of BSc, and at the same time BSc offers you that some other advantage. So like it was basically just what I actually wanted for my career. So based on that, I went for IISc.
And Pranjal?
Yeah, for me there wasn't really a plan B because like I had given several exams for IISER and I had cleared them, so I knew that I would get selected and that was my goal. So yeah, that's about.
And Arka, you already said about ISP and ISI. Were you planning about any other options like about except from those you talked about and elaborated about in the previous part?
No, these two.
Like what should be the study approach when he's learning something new, like a new topic or an entire new subject? He's starting astronomy or something else. When he's starting a completely new topic, so what should be the you can start?
Good. When studying a new topic, so I might relate it with my case. So I'm studying Griffith's Introduction to Electrodynamics. So I'm basically reading the book first, and then I am discussing with another friend who is also reading with me so that we can exchange the concepts learned, sort of, and wherever we find difficulty, we can discuss, which helps a lot. And learning a new topic, depending on the topic, it might be the case that you might forget it after a while. So basically revising it a bit spaced equally should help, which is what I'm doing. And then solving problems in case of physics and maths and improves concepts. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah. So when I'm studying a new topic, I usually, go through the reference book like Chirag already mentioned. Try discussing with friends. That might be a little hard in like online mode. So one more thing which I like to do is just search it on Stack Exchange, see what questions come up, and just going through the content of some of those questions and seeing like where other people have in the past got stuck at, or what interesting discussions might have stemmed from there. That might also like be something to just get a new perspective on the topic for. So some of those times, some videos on YouTube are really elegant, or they show like the concept in a new sort of elegant demonstrated way, like if someone were to stumble upon three blue one brown, for instance. So this is something I would recommend you to do. Just Google it, put it on YouTube, put it on Stack Exchange.
Okay. Okay, would you like to add on something?
Yeah, one thing I found useful is that apart from the textbooks, for particular topics, lecture notes of some good universities that you can get online are very helpful, because they have the concepts, mostly the basic key points that are the fundamental things. They are explained very nicely. Say, if you go to MIT's open courseware, you can find class notes there. Some other universities also put. Okay, so for say, like when I was trying to do analysis, so I found IIT Kanpur's notes very useful. So yeah, you should try to go through them. And as Heramb said, that YouTube videos that are available, reliable YouTube videos, of course, are a very good source of understanding those topics. Yeah, so that's it.
Nice. So, Nisarg, what was your approach in this case?
Like during preparation for JEE or competitive exams, I think what Chirag said fits best. But like currently, like what I do when I'm revising something is that like at the bottom of the book, of at the like there's the footer of the page, there'll be some references to support what the claims that the author is making. So like whenever I'm getting bored, okay, I'm just memorizing the formulae, I just Google one of those references, read up the paper, and you like randomly selecting something. So that usually lands me to some interesting spot, which is like a very unique implementation of that concept. So that like cements that in your memory. Okay, this is not something you'll regularly see. This like some sort of unique application of that concept will like cement it in your memory. That's something that I just started out doing randomly, and I've been doing that in my first year.
Okay, nice. And Pranjal, what was your, in this case, opinion?
Yeah, so I'll stick specifically to math because that's what I know the most about compared to other things which I know. So the first thing which I'd say is, like as I said before, you need to make it your own, and for that you can start to like derive the theorems which have been given on your own. So that's a start. And then once you become good at that, and once you are good at problem solving, you can also try to think about if I had this problem in mind which leads to this particular subtopic in mathematics, what would I do to try to solve it? And are there any big results which come to my mind which I can try to do? Maybe by intuition, maybe because I've had some previous slight exposure to the idea, which wasn't very deep, but like surface level exposure, which gave me some idea of what this subtopic entails. So maybe I can try to think of some theorem that way, which is my own, and try to prove it. It obviously might not be new, but still, if I prove it, I can say I rediscovered it. And the second thing which I focus on when I study is that you should question where the definitions are coming from. So this is something which is not like talked about at all, and definitions are something which are just handed down to you. But that is not how it should be, because if you think about it a bit, there is someone who first came up with these definitions, right? They didn't just fall out of the sky and say like use us and you will have a much easier life. So you should ask that question: why did the person who defined this define it, and why is it in this particular way? What if I tweak the definition a little bit? does it change the thing completely, or are there a few gray regions where this new tweak definition and the previous one don't match, but otherwise they mostly match? Or is it that that definition doesn't make sense at all? So, for example, if you take the idea of energy in physics, we are taught that idea in 9th standard or something, and there we are just handed it down. We are too immature when it comes to these things to actually be able to understand the significance of it. But once you start learning more physics, you see that it's actually a really useful idea, and pretty much everywhere everything is framed in terms of energy. So why did the person who came up with this idea think that it's such a useful idea, and how did the thing, like, how did it go from a simple definition of b square, that simple equation 2as equals b square minus u square, to such a big idea which basically defines all of physics? So that's one place where I guess most people will be able to relate, because everyone knows the idea of energy. So yeah, you should question the definitions and try to prove the theorems on your own. Even if you can't prove the entire thing, you can read through half of the proof and try to do the rest. And also, you need to ask about what the intuition behind this is, because everything in mathematics runs on intuition, even if it doesn't seem like that in the formal language which it's often written in. So pretty often you'll see that even if it's all formal, there will be some background intuition behind it. Particularly in real analysis, you can see that pretty much all the results which you prove, at least in the beginning, are geometrically obvious. Like, you don't even need to be a math student to be able to see that those results are true. But somehow it is really hard to prove them. But it won't actually be that hard once you start to learn how to tap that intuition and turn it into formal logic. So intuition is basically something which you know but you can't explain, right? So you need to tap that place in the intuition that, okay, I know this, but why does my conscience say that I know this so well? So like, you try to go to the bottom of where it's coming from. So yeah, that's basically my approach.
Nice. I want to add a little bit to that. So there are 2 points that I want to make here. The first point is that the idea of questioning the definition is awesome, and it's not just mathematics. You can apply this to any field that you're trying to learn anything in. The simple idea is that you don't want to just take what the person in front of you is saying. You want to understand why they're saying that, and you can't really do that if you don't ask why. The question why is fundamental to all of science. It's fundamental to physics, math, chemistry. It's the same question. It's always keeping on asking why something is true. And that's what we're really doing when we're studying pure science. The study of pure science is just a systematic way of answering the question why, right? And so I think that's a fantastic idea, just questioning the definition, or just in general, asking why, and not being content with things like, I said so, right? Which is a lot what happens in, say, JEE courses and engineering courses. At least that's what I've heard, right? Okay. And the second thing that I think I want to mention is that this is 2021. It's the era of the internet. So if you want to learn something, there are thousands of things online that you can find on that topic. You've got fantastic YouTube channels explaining stuff from math, from physics. I guess you've got 3 Blue 1 Brown, you've got Mathologer, you've got Numberphile for math, you've got PBS Spacetime, you've got Infinite Series for math. There are just many YouTube channels. And apart from these, just any number of resources you want on that topic, right? Somebody here mentioned MIT OCW, which I think is great. The Harvard Math Department students are also starting something called the OCMI, the Open Course Materials Initiative, soon. It's still in the works, but we're going to launch it over the next few years. That basically opens up the Harvard Math Department to the world. You can access the notes, class notes, and things of that sort from all the various courses taught at Harvard online, just the same way OCW works. So I think the main point is that there's a huge amount of information available online. And if you just have a computer that has access to the internet, that opens up lots of opportunities for you to learn. I mean, there are caveats, right? There are caveats that say that sometimes having so much available in front of you can make things confusing and challenging, and it might make things hard to decide which it might make things harder when you want to decide which source is the best for you. But I guess the the bigger problem which we used to have before that was not enough access to these things, which we need to focus on. Yeah. Does-
Okay,
yeah.
here I would like to add something like, suppose I am studying something advanced topics. So, if a high school student is studying some undergraduate topic, should there be any change in these plans, or should the same approach, like what you said, mixed together, should be followed? Anyone can take on.
I guess you should first access the places where you can find that stuff taught in a surface level way, which doesn't go into deep, doesn't generalize too much, just talks about a few special cases. And then from there, you can pick up a book and start to read it. And then it is kind of familiar. So it's not completely new. And particularly if you're studying undergrad math as a high school student, the formality of it all can be pretty overwhelming. So if you first study a special case, maybe even with partial rigor, not complete rigor, then that rigorous part becomes easier, because you can see the connections of like what is trying to make what rigorous. So you can sort of break the proof down into several pieces, and each piece in a non-rigorous way how to understand. So that way you can also understand the rigorous part.
Anyone would like to add on for physics and chemistry? One must study advanced topics from them.
Like, yeah, as Gaurav said, you can like easily access things. So the only thing you actually need to get started is that ambition and that motivation to actually dive deep into it. Because like some people will just go through and surf through some overview and just so that they can claim, okay, we have some knowledge of this. But if you actually want to understand everything, then definitely, like as Pranjal also said, you should start shallow. You get a feel for the topics, and then if time permits and if you still have that motivation to continue, you can dive deeper, and like sky's the limit at the high school level. And even personally, if I say, is that one thing that I do feel that I didn't do initially is that is exactly this: explore further. So most of my class 11th, I was just confined to JEE. So it was only after that after I got comfortable with that I began to expand the materials that I was accessing, and like that's what got me interested in pure science. So like everyone should at least try to do that, because you never know what you might uncover there, and that might just be what you want to pursue in the future. So keep exploring. That's easy, as Gaurav said. Currently, like it's just one click away. So like it's the initiative that matters the most.
I might add something here. So
Yeah, sure.
basically, the point is, if you have time in high school level, you should definitely explore undergraduate subjects, because in the end, what I've seen at MIT is basically the first year is spent by students exploring subjects or taking deeper classes which they could have taken in their high school level and skipped over some courses. So it's basically saving you a year in the sense if you have time in high school. So I would highly recommend going ahead if you have time, motivation, and the ambition to do so.
Yeah, and one point I would like to add in the point which Gaurav made, that sometimes there can be so much information that you don't know which one to pick. Just flip a coin. So if you know that all of them are good and you are unable to choose between them because they are all good, you can just flip a coin and you'll end up at something good. So why worry so much?
Yeah, there's nothing to lose. Exactly.
So Heramb, you would like to add something for the chemistry part of this, or the same approach? Like, yeah.
I think a similar approach would work. I just like to add that, with regard to saving a year, whenever you enter a sort of new system, so when you jump, let's say from 10th into 11th, or like from 12th into first year, it's kind of like a big jump in the system. So it takes some time for you to acclimatize. So it's like really comforting if you got the academics locked down from what you did in like 11th and 12th. Of course, this doesn't mean like you start setting targets 11th and 12th that I have to get like first year stuff down. But if you can, then it's great. It'll just help you acclimatize to that new environment when you go out in the first year, give you some more time for exploring.
Okay, so I have two questions. Firstly, the flip the coin that triggered another question. So, like, if one is like planning for majoring in subjects, like majoring in two or more subjects are not something which are offered at many institutions in India. Like, if you go at IISER, you are all taking these IISER Kolkata, you are taking BStat, or IISER Bangalore, you are taking mathematics, and everyone is not willing to or capable of going to abroad. So, if one is really confused, how should one decide that which major should he take? Like Arka told something about the middle ground one, but Hemansh, should you like to elaborate on the fact that if someone is really confused, which one he or she should go for?
You mean like subject?
Yeah, like double majoring or something like that. They are not available at many institutions across India. So, which subject should one go for in that case?
I really don't know. Like, it's their choice. After all, they have to decide. They can do multiple subjects. So if there is a subject which you can learn well on your own, then learn that on your own. And if like just compare, like, which are you more interested in, or for which subject would you need more of like help from the institution, or maybe like which subject can you handle well with others. Like, all these factors you can just interplay and decide. Like, that really hasn't come into my life. Like, I was always sure that I have to understand the universe, and like, so it was basically like, I'm sure for physics, so I didn't have to really go through this.
Okay. Anyone would like to add something to that?
Yeah, I'd like to say that like most of the times it's like you want to take either this subject or that subject. Like, it's you boil down to two subjects mostly that you want to take. Okay, so what you should do is that you should, like, one thing. So I would say that what everybody said, you should go through the particular subjects that you like in your high school, at least at the undergrad level, to get a feel of what the subject actually is. Now, when you're at the time of choosing your major, you say you choose a particular major. Okay, so you should try to take as much classes that are fundamental to both of them. So in case you want to do something in the other subject, although your major is the particular subject, your background is sufficient so that after you complete your degree, you can switch on to the other subject. So that I would like to say. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, you don't really need a degree to know something, right? So even if you don't have a degree in that subject and you just self-learn, that's still fine.
Right. And some students have asked, like, everyone can't make it to the camp. So where the Olympiad camp I'm referring to, where there are many practical things taught there, like especially in case of physics or chemistry, the student has written. So if one wants to explore those, are there any sources like of 3D? Some, like, there are sources in mathematics for the geometry part, like GeoGebra and Geometry Sketchpad and things, where one can visualize geometry. Euclidean geometry is limited, but still one can visualize. Are there any apps or applications available in the field of physics where one can like imagine or visualize such things, perform things virtually only, so that they can gain insights about other specifications and like things like that? So, anyone would like to add on that? So physics or chemistry, I don't think like reactions can perform virtually or something like that. So physics, do you guys want to add something on that?
I think there's phet.colorado.edu. That's like a site where they have a bunch of simulations at a high school level of like different topics. So they had like playing with the circuit for Ohm's law, a little bit better than that also, like playing with apparatus for Snell's law and stuff like that. So yeah, it does like give you some feel of it, but admittedly the simulations are not like that extensive. They don't cover like every bit of theory which we are taught.
Yeah, so So I would actually like to state that there is this software Stellarium for astronomy, which is like excellent in many ways. Like it can really give you a feel for how the night sky looks. For physics, I would say that physics is basically a study of the real world. The laws will not make sense until it actually happens in front of you. So rather than relying on software, you should rely on everyday experience. Like just distill out things from everyday experience and show that, like, and try to observe various phenomena. That would be a much better approach. Mm.
Yeah, Chirag,
Hey,
yeah.
I was just curious about the question. So, because we are all in the range of spectrum of pure sciences and research side towards industry and like half industry, half pure science. So I was curious about why have you chosen pure science? Because this has been a difficult question for me to think about, and is particularly hard to just think about your own life. So I was just hoping that you all can give your views about it.
Anyone like to tell a bit about what Chirag asked, like why you pursue pure science, apart from the liking, and if the other things drove you to pursue that pure science field?
I can answer from a math point of view.
Yeah, sure.
So basically, like, I like math so much because it can all be done in your head, and all you really need is a piece of paper and a pen, right? So even as a kid, without, like, you don't need a laboratory or anything. So even if you're not in an institute and you don't have access to anything, you can still do. You just need the internet, a few books, a piece of paper, and a pen. So like, I like math because of that. So you can just do it anytime, and you don't need anything materialistic to do.
Physics point of view, so it is basically that, like, ever since childhood I have been troubled by the question that why everything exists, why do I exist, why do I feel consciousness, why do I see everything that exists around me. And like every time I used to delve one step deeper, it used to open up even more questions, and somehow those questions would get together and come into the form of some laws this universe is obeying. So it actually seemed to me that the question of why everything is the way it is can be answered if we question how everything actually works. Like if we get a better understanding of how it works, then we can better figure out why it works. And that has always been the case in physics. Like figure out how the thing works and then try to reason it out, like why it works, then try to figure out what else we should observe and try to observe those phenomena. And that is what actually got me into physics ever since childhood.
So I think, like, just adding to the knowledge reservoir which the human race has, and like trying to contribute to like the growth of science. Those are like the things which basically motivated me to take up research. Yeah.
Okay. So someone has asked Nisarg that like there are many things going on, like many news that bio is best at IISc, physics is good at IISERs, and then IIT is a mainly focused for engineering. So would you like to tell something about the department, like what you're studying now, what are the subjects you have taken, about the student community there, what is, and also maybe it would be nice if you tell them about the daily cycle now in your lockdown period and online classes.
As for the individual departments, like the quality of the departments like depends on what metric you are assessing it with. So it might be based on the research that's going on currently, but like currently at the undergraduate level, it doesn't actually make that much of a difference, because you have like even more in an online sem and you just have professors coming in and lecturing. So obviously, like all the professors at IISc and even at all these premium institutes, they are proficient in their own field. So obviously, like the current level of inputs that we are getting, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. But like if you go further on in your research, when you actually have to do lab works and you actually have to work in the forefront of what you are doing, instead of just sitting back and taking notes of what the professor is saying. So at that time you have to assess what which institute offers the specific field in which you are interested in. And like, I think it becomes more and more pertinent as the level of education increases. So suppose if I want to do a PhD in some specific field, then obviously I'll look for that institute which offers the best facilities for that particular field, even if on an overall scale it won't be at the top. So as your interest starts to focus in on one particular portion, at that time your selectivity for different institutes begins to matter. That's what I personally feel. And like, obviously all these are quality institutes, so it's not as if suppose someone says that okay, IISER Pune is better for this field, that doesn't actually mean that the others are not as good as that. And so like, instead of being swayed by these personal opinions, I think you should just look at the facilities that are provided and see if that suits your interests. And of course there are so many student accounts of that, so you can read up on that. And I think your second question was about like online college in lockdown, is that yeah, it actually, I can't say it's the best experience. You are just sitting in your room in front of a laptop and you're not able to actually interact as well as you would have been possible in an offline STEM. So yeah, definitely it's not the best experience, but at the same time it gives you that freedom to twist your timings, your schedule. You don't have to actually, you can actually watch the recordings of the classes at your convenience. So that's a plus point, and like, it's best to make the most out of it. Definitely we are all eager to get back on the campus, but like, it frees up a lot of time to do your self-study, and you can actually twist your schedule, as I said, more freely. So that's obviously a plus point.
Others would it would be great if others add to this, like what are the schedules in this brigade, and also it would be nice if you tell a bit about the departments at your institution, which one you like, what are the things that you are learning now. So Hemansh, you can start.
So basically, like, departments at IISc are pretty diverse. Like, but for undergrads, it's like we have 6 subjects: physics, chem, maths, bio, then humanities and engineering. So I will just like go give a brief overview that in physics we basically have what is taught in the first and second sems. Like in the first sem we had classical mechanics, and in the second sem we had electrodynamics. In chemistry we had physical and inorganic, and biology we had genetics. Like, we had a wide variety of subjects. Biogenetics was the most recent. So basically the thing is that the professors are basically quite advanced in those very subjects which they are teaching, and they have a quite good reserve of knowledge to share with us. Yeah, and we the more important thing is that we can collaborate with the professors outside the classroom. We can send them emails and ask them doubts and get their replies, etc.
Okay, so like in this lockdown period, how is the classes going on? Also, like, what are the subjects now you are learning, and which subject you like the most? And also, it would be nice to tell a bit about the departments at your institution. So this is the question.
Well, I think Nisarg already said this, and we already know this. Online learning is not the best, and I'm really looking forward to going back to in-person learning, as I think everyone is. I think there's no question about that. It's just that all we can do, and I think there's okay, this is getting a little sidetracked, but there's this one line from The Lord of the Rings which I really like, and that I think is like really good here. It's when Frodo says to Gandalf that I wish this weren't happening in my time. Like, why do I have to face this problem? Why is the world crashing on around us when I lived, right? And then the answer to that is that Gandalf gives is basically that we don't get to choose what happens to us, right? All we have to do is to make the best of the time that is given to us. And I think that's really applicable here, because we didn't have a choice about shifting to online learning. And so the best thing we can do is we can see, well, what good has come out of this. For me personally, I was able to take a leave of absence from Harvard for this year. But even if you're not able to, just exploring new things, and even something mundane like spending time with your family, just sitting at home with your family, just getting to spend time with your grandparents or your little siblings. I think that's what you can really appreciate during these times, right? And then the second question I think you asked was, I'm sorry, what was the second question again?
About departments at your institution, what you are studying, and what you're liking the most.
At Harvard, I think the special part about Harvard is that we have a lot of flexibility in choosing our courses. To get a degree in a subject, you have to take, there are requirements listed, right? There's this big handbook of requirements for each degree offered at Harvard. But most of those requirements are really flexible. For example, for math, right? I'm thinking about just pursuing pure math. At Harvard, you have to take one math course in all the major branches of mathematics. So one in algebra, one in geometry, one in topology, and so on. And outside of these, you have to take math courses, but it doesn't really matter which one. So I think that's this flexibility, which I think it's a general thing about universities in the US that universities in the UK or India don't share, is that they offer a lot of flexibility when you want to choose what you want to study. Right. And the various departments here, they're excellent in their own ways. And I think that's true of most universities. Like at this level, there isn't much of a significant difference between the top, say, 100 universities or 200 universities in the world. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Arka, we would like to add something on that. On your part, like how is the day going in this lockdown, the classes, and then the departments at IISc Kolkata.
Yeah, so of course online classes are like the best we have, but not the best thing that exists. Okay, like offline classes will certainly be a lot better than online classes, but we have to like this all we got. Okay, so yeah, to make the most of it. So one thing, like everybody said, it leaves you with quite some free time. Like if you were on campus, you would have to sit in the class, like go to the class. All this can be saved by, like, say, you can watch the recorded videos at a faster pace, like do it on 2x, so that thing stays there, and like, you do not have to commute, then you do not have to get up early. Like that is one big thing. Okay, so yeah, those are the pros. Cons, like everybody knows. Okay, everybody has faced online classes, everybody knows. As of the departments at ISI, well, so ISI is basically, as the name suggests, it's deals with statistics and mathematics, but we also have departments in machine intelligence and computer science. The machine intelligence department is like doing work in machine learning, so as the name suggests, of course. So yeah, that is there. There's applied statistics unit that applies the, like, statistics is like basically what you apply it, right? Of course theoretical statistics is there, but statistics is applied in almost every place you go. So developing methods that are specific to particular fields, that kind of stuff goes on there. Okay, there's interdisciplinary statistics research unit, so that also does similar work. So that's it. So, and as of the courses I'm taking, well, it's mostly maths. There's a statistics course, there's a probability theory course, linear algebra, reanalysis, and this sem we have got numerical analysis as well. So like basically these courses are there to build up the base for statistics. Basically statistics is like physics in the sense that both of them draw a lot from math and give it to as well. Okay, so to study statistics properly, not just to make use of statistics, to understand it properly, you need a lot of maths. So our course involves that part pretty nicely. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, and obviously it's the subjects are interesting. So yeah.
Heramb, we would like to add from the IIT point of view, like what are the things going on at IIT and the departments and this online scenario.
Yeah, sure. So obviously at IIT we have all the engineering departments. So you have your civil, mechanical, those kind of things. And then you have like your pure research or pure science courses, which are like generally the batches in pure science are smaller. So they are like obviously pros to that you get a lot more attention. So like our batch, for example, has 15-20 people, the entire class. And I think one sub batch of an engineering department has 30-35 people. So we get a lot more personal attention, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad, admittedly. Apart from that, the courses I'm taking physical chemistry this semester, along with so physical chemistry touched a lot on thermodynamics, which we have covered in like 11th and 12th, but at a slightly like higher level, involving mixing multivariable calculus in it, and kind of arriving at some of the equations we had just sort of learned in 11th and 12th. So that was very nice to just see all of that coming together. Apart from that, I'm taking like a math course, which I think is mandatory for pretty much everyone. I'm taking a lab course, which is ironic because it's an online semester. So we basically just watch lab videos, and uh, the professor just tries to, keep having discussions on the experiments which are supposed to be performed in the lab. Um, yeah, I think there's an organic chemistry course, which is kind of like a rewind on the entire 11th and 12th organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry, where the teacher loves to joke about the fact that all the inorganic have been taught in like 11th and 12th is kind of like useless. Um, and as for like the department side of things, I love sort of talking with other people from other departments. So there might be this a person from the CSE department or this person from the civil department. Albeit it's a little difficult right now because it's like everything's online. So just either collaborate with them for some sort of a project maybe in the future, or just to learn sort of their perspective on things, or like what sort of softwares they are using, or what are their sort of short-term goals, what skill set are they trying to develop from this completely, I would call it some sort of a distant brother to what chemistry does on the more application side of things, the more engineering side of things. What are some ways in which we could potentially join hands? And obviously people at IITs, or I think this is more or less true for any college, if you look like hard enough, there'll be people with very different interests from what they're pursuing. Somebody might be doing an engineering field, and they might like not even want to continue in some sort of a science field after graduation. So they might be preparing for IAS, they might be preparing for some sort of an MBA. So just learning from them, just seeing what they're doing on a daily basis motivates you, inspires you, kind of broadens your horizon in the larger sense.
Okay. Chirag, what's your take on this from the MIT perspective? Like what the things going on in MIT in this online class scenario, then the departments, the thing.
So I have been in a privileged position to be on campus for the spring semester. Even though our classes were online, just meeting with the people who are studying and like solving problem sets and assignments with them in person has been pretty good. And secondly, the COVID restrictions have all been removed here, given the condition here. So I think at least in the US, it's been returning to the completely in person, which is pretty great, and I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, MIT is pretty similar to Harvard in the way that we get flexibility to choose our classes. So you can basically take any 8 math classes across 4 years and get a math major, given that you have taken the basics in each subject. So that is pretty great, as you can explore whichever classes you want, and go as deep as you want in whichever topic, but it might the con of this is basically that you have to know about what is right for you at first year, second year, because when a prescribed curriculum is decided, like it's the standard and it is pretty much beneficial for all, but you have to make your own here, and it might mess some things up as you might not explore enough and then end up in the wrong direction. So yeah, advising is pretty important at that part. But yeah, the rest of the curriculum, it's flexible enough that you can major in two subjects here too, so that's also pretty great and helpful if you're not undecided between two fields.
Okay. Pranjal, what's the scene with the IISER from the IISER perspective surrounding this? You were to mute.
So in IISER Pune, we have like first 3 semesters of compulsory courses, and they range right from humanities to ECS, Earth and Climate Sciences, and math, physics, chemistry. So we have and biology. So we have to learn a lot of stuff in the first 3 semesters. So although I have been fixated on majoring in math right from the beginning, I don't really have a choice other than doing these courses, and making the best of it is still it does give a pretty interesting view of other subjects, and I try to do some math related stuff in those subjects whenever I get the time. And other than that, about the math department in particular, I can't say much because, well, I am not yet part of it. But yeah, when I certainly look forward to becoming part of it because I've heard of some pretty good professors. I've also interacted with a few. So yeah, it's exciting, but I can't say much about it.
So there is this question like in this lockdown scenario, almost schools are closed only, even if lockdown's not announced like that. So 11 and 12 practical are quite neglected. So is the same with like institutions that IISc or IISER, or the practicals are being conducted somehow? Like are the lectures recorded from the very like they're recorded from past time, or the classes we take are live? Then like the setup is done, then the professors initiate the class and is live, at least in the class, or only recordings are provided?
It's a mixture of both. So we have live classes, and there are some professors who have pre-recorded their lectures and they just post the recordings. And once in a while, once in a week or so, they have like doubt solving sessions. And of course, we have tutorials which are live. So that keeps happening every week. So it's not all recorded and it's not all live, but all the live lectures are recorded. So you can watch it later at your time. And that's what I do. So it frees up a lot of time because you can speed it up, you can skip through parts which you already know or which you think are boring, because well, you don't need to study everything to pass the exam. And so if you find something is not interesting, you can just skip. So yeah, that saves quite a lot of time, and I use that to do math stuff. So what I'm thinking of is like doing the next sem courses a bit before, so that when I have those courses in that semester, I have some free time to explore on my own. Because as I said, I like to make everything my own and rediscover it, and that of course takes time. It takes time, so you can't do that with deadlines and stuff. So yeah.
Nisarg, you would like to add from the IISc point, like our practicals and scene?
Yeah, our labs are also quite similar to IISER. Like we have the experiments are uploaded and then we have a session to discuss them. And like I think that's the best they can do at this point, because online labs is actually not that efficient. So yeah, that's what's going on here. I don't know about 11th and 12th, but yeah, for college that's what's going on.
Hemansh, you would like to add that to that?
Like Nisarg basically covered it.
Okay, sure. And Chirag, you would like to add something about the practicals in MIT? Are you taking them in person, or are they conducting like recorded or some other version for other students who are not able to make it to MIT for them to watch?
So personally, I have not taken any practical class. But I've heard that in fall semester, MIT was completely, or at least the end of last spring semester, MIT was completely online, and one of the main physics practical class was modified online to make it. So it was basically like you get data from which is already present on the internet and analyze there rather than getting data by doing an experiment itself. So it has to be pretty much just the data is given and you're analyzing it, which is not that fun. So, but yeah, now like most people who want to do it in person just directly go to the lab.
Heramb already covered the practical scenario. Would you like to add something on that?
I think I covered most of it. So basically, just to have a short recap, it's the whatever experiment is supposed to be conducted is just recorded and uploaded, and then we have a class on it to discuss any doubts which people might have, and then like Chirag said, we're just given a uh, data set, and you have to perform whatever calculations you would have done in the lab, and then submit it as an assignment.
Arka, if you would like to add something, if there is anything from that perspective.
There aren't any practical courses as such at ISI, but the statistic courses, so they have some practical work. So not practical like doing physics practicals or that, like analyzing the data. Like we are given, say, a particular sort of data. We have to see, basically perform some tests on those, and we got some assignments and project that we have to choose any sort of data from the internet and analyze it, comment on it, see what is happening in there. So yeah, but as I said, it's mostly there's no that sort of practicals in there. So yeah.
Okay. And Gaurav, you would like to add something to that about practicals?
Well, I don't really have practicals because I study mostly math, so we don't really have practicals in that.
Okay. So there's this next segment about favorites. So someone has asked to name the favorite person in your field, any professor or anyone in your department or in your college, by whose works have really inspired you, driven you, maybe his works or his qualities. So to name and say a bit about that. Someone has asked this question. So Nisarg, we can start with you.
Okay, then the first name that comes to mind is Matt O'Dowd, who's the host of PBS FaceTime. So that, watching those videos was what actually motivated to explore physics, theoretical physics. So yeah, as a role model, I would say that's what actually got me into this field. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, for me it's 3 Blue 1 Brown. So again, a YouTuber. His videos were what got me into math, and some other channels as well, Mathologer and all. But the main one was 3 Blue 1 Brown, and that's where I derive most of my ideologies from as well. So yeah, he has been a pretty great inspiration.
I'm obliged to name a chemist. I guess I'll go with Dmitry Mendelev. He's the creator of the periodic table. So the story behind this is fascinating. It always fascinates me. So he had this very long period in his life where he just used to play around with random data sets, and people used to think he was crazy, and people used to tell him that not gonna get anything productive out of it. You're just overthinking stuff. You're just making stuff straight up. It's not real science. But at the end of the day, when he formulated the periodic table, not only was he obviously did he become very famous, but obviously just sort of set the groundwork for all of organic chemistry, and dare I say all of some of physics too. Just on its own, even maybe not from a scientific point of view, even from a cultural point of view, the periodic table is so sort of important and relevant, just to see this block of elements laid out in this very specific manner, as if maybe some higher power had intended it. So that's definitely something which inspires me to have to overthink more on this. It's not quite enough. Even if people say it's crazy, it's probably not.
Okay. Hemansh, you would like to add something to this?
Yeah. So of course, my favorite person would be Richard Feynman, and like his approach to physics and the books he has written. Like it's not only that he's a good physicist; he's also a very good teacher. Like just through his books, he can just like convey a concept so clearly. And also his approach towards physics, as in just you have to do physics for the fun of it. You have to understand. So and also like I have also been inspired by videos of Carl Sagan, the Cosmos series, in which he basically that is an excellent communication of science to the public. And if you talk about the even like if you talk about the very like old times, then not really very old, but you have Galileo, and like his struggle basically, like, it can really inspire you out. And if you talk about the current times, then PBS Space Time and 3 Blue 1 Brown, these YouTube channels, they have been, all of them combined have basically, you can say, got me interested.
And Chirag, here I would like to add something.
For me, to be completely honest, there's no particular person which like I look forward to completely. As in, I look forward to many people, and then uh just the strengths of them. PBS Space Time, Veritasium, Vsauce, Tered, these are great YouTube channel. 3 Blue 1 Brown is the greatest math channel, and but there's no particular name which I can say.
Gaurav.
I think for me, I've had the absolutely amazing fortune of having interacted with this person at Harvard. This would be Professor Barry Mazur. He's a very famous and very influential mathematician in the world. He's had numerous contributions to really important things. Like he's many things. One thing is, for example, a complete classification of torsion groups of ellipticals. The second thing is he's contributed a lot to the proof, what eventually led to the proof of Fermat's last theorem. And another thing that's really attributed to him is the connection that he developed between prime numbers and knots, and how the symmetry of the linking number for knots corresponds to quadratic reciprocity for primes and things of that sort. And he basically kick-started the field of arithmetic topology. So this fantastic person, he's currently 83 years old, and I've had the excellent fortune of having interacted with him and actually taken an algebraic number theory course with him. And I think the reason that he inspires me so much is his humility and his generosity. I think just he's such a big shot in math that even full professors at Harvard, who've been professors at Harvard for like 20 odd years, still think of him as a mentor and as a guide. And yet he's just so willing to interact and so excited even to interact with younger students and listen to them and answer their questions and spend time with them discussing math with them. So yeah, it would be Professor Barry Mazur at Harvard.
Yes. And Arka would like to finish this topic with your view.
As Chirag said, like there are many people from whom like I have been inspired. Yeah, so can't name exactly one person, but like you say about like people were saying about their favorite YouTube channels of their particular subject. So yeah, I'd say 3B1B is a pretty good channel. Okay, so yeah, one thing that's with 3B1B is that any particular topic they make a video on, they distill the entire subject into very fundamental concepts. Okay, so if you go with pure maths, pure maths or even like higher mathematics, you will see that many definitions seem kind of pulled out of thin air. Okay, or many methods they seem like they have been pulled out of thin air. So what 3B1B's videos, you will see that what is the intuition behind them, what is the motivation behind them. So that is one thing that's really important in like mathematics. And so yeah, I'd say 3B1B as a YouTube channel is pretty influential. So yeah.
Okay, so we'll wrap up. So it would be nice if you could share some funny incidents, like although you're not doing online classes, if you had some funny incidents in your high school days or at time, or as soon as you had some offline classes at your college. So if you have any funny incidents, it would be nice if you share. And Nisha, we can start with you if you would like to share something.
Okay, I don't remember any such standout incident. So I guess if someone else has something to contribute, please go ahead. I'll have to think of
Okay,
it.
then Gaurav.
I think the one thing that came to my mind was I took this course called Math 55 at Harvard, uh, which is just a first introduction to math, to advanced math. And the particular scenario that I remember the most is that we had this really tight knit community of students working together on homework sets and so on. So the one day I remember vividly is when we were working in something called the Math Lounge at Harvard, which is just a big space with like chalkboards and things of that sort to work for people to collaborate. And this was like at 3 a.m., something like that, at 3 a.m. And every one of us had class at 10 o'clock the next morning. And we were still working there because we had a homework set due that nobody had done. And one student basically took a picture of all of us and sent that to the professor saying, here's how your students look at this point of the day, and we really could use some extension on this difficult problem set that you've given us for this week. And he basically took this picture and sent it to the professor, and then the professor agreed to give us an extension on that problem set.
We have one such deadline 3 hours from now, so I guess we'll have to use a similar strategy for postponing it.
Okay. Heramb, you would like to add to
that? Nothing particular comes to mind. Okay, one thing which maybe does come to mind is so 3 months ago, I think. So I was on the organizing team for IIT's like technical festival. So it's called Cognizance. So the entire team was like in just one call after the event got over, and some of the seniors, like basically some of the juniors from the organizing team and some of the seniors just got together and decided to spam a bunch of WhatsApp groups, and that was fun. It was like 2:30 in the morning. So when people woke up the next morning, we had kicked all the admins out, and like 1,000+ messages on each department's WhatsApp group. So that was fun.
Okay. Chirag, you would like to add to that?
I don't particularly recall, but I might say so. Yesterday, we have an air hockey table, and then we were curious if an phone goes inside the slot of air hockey, and it went. And because it didn't slide off, so we had to dismantle one part of the table. It was still stuck, and then someone came up with an idea of using a sellotape to go and stick to the phone and then pull it out, which was pretty cool.
Pranjal, you would like to add to that?
No, we haven't had much of a campus life to have some such fun incidents. So.
Okay, and Arka?
I can't particularly think of anything as of now. Sorry.
Okay. Hemansh, someone has particularly asked you about some of your late night experiments he has mentioned. So it would be great if you tell that about that.
Yeah, so basically I have quite a bit of equipment. Like I have ordered quite some from Amazon or built some with my jugaad myself. And like I enjoy it. Like I don't really realize time as it passes by. Just like fiddling about with stuff like this doesn't want to try this something new, and sometimes it works. Some nights it works brilliantly. Basically that's what I'm been doing like in these lockdown days. The lockdown has provided me a nice window for all this. Like it has nicely expanded out. Like just now I caught this insect apparently. Not just now, like in the afternoon. If you can see, it's like the background thing is not allowing it, but like it's pretty cool. I just took a few images and all. Let's see what will happen.
Yeah, and you would like to add something to that fun incident thing everyone was sharing?
Like I haven't really gone to college, so like it has basically been online IISc, but high school fun incidences, yes, a lot. Like quite.
If you share one.
We would hardly study in any of our self-study sessions. Like, as long as the sir is not in the class, we will be playing Beach Ka Bandar or something about. One funny incident that comes to mind is when we discovered that the fire extinguisher can be like just pressed. There was no pin which was supposed to be there, and then we went about throwing it on each other. It was basically liquid CO2 which would evaporate off. Liquid CO2 under high pressure. Then we filled it in one person's bottle, and when he opened it, it popped off. He was scared, etc.
Thanks a lot for joining in.